The Rachel Maddow Show is up next.
Good evening, Lawrence. Thanks very much. And thanks to you at home for joining us for the next hour. This spring, Republicans in the House and in the Senate voted to kill Medicare. They voted for the Paul Ryan House budget that would get rid of Medicare by privatizing it, by turning it into a coupon program. That vote was almost unanimous among Republicans. In the House, only 4 Republicans voted against it. 235 voted for it. In the Senate, 5 Republicans voted against it, and 40 senators voted for it. And that nearly unanimous Republican endorsement of killing Medicare, that vote for the Paul Ryan budget, led directly to the loss of a safe Republican congressional seat in a special election in upstate New York. That was back in May. The Democrats in charge of taking back the House for their party in 2012 rather gleefully announced that to take back the House, they did have a 3-part strategy, and their 3-part strategy was Medicare, Medicare, and Medicare. As every swing state and swing district Republican who had voted for the Kill Medicare plan started to sweat over their fate in the next election, even those worried Republicans all spared a thought for this poor sot in Nevada. His name is Dean Heller, and because of a quirk in the timing of when John Ensign resigned in disgrace over his sex scandal, and when the Nevada governor appointed Dean Heller to fill Ensign's seat, because of that quirk, Dean Heller is the only poor sap on earth who had to vote to kill Medicare twice. While he was still in the House, he voted for the Paul Ryan plan to kill Medicare. Then he got elevated to the Senate just in time to vote again, this time as a senator, for the same thing again, voting not once but twice to kill Medicare. And he represents a swing state. And this is what Dean Heller's life is like now.
This spring, Congressman Dean Heller voted to end Medicare. Then Heller was appointed to the Senate, where he voted again to leave Nevada seniors to the mercy of the private insurance companies. Now we get to vote on Heller's replacement in the House of Representatives. And for Nevadans, it comes down to one issue. Will the candidates vote like Dean Heller? Because if they plan to vote to end Medicare and double seniors' costs like Heller, why would they deserve our vote?
Whether or not you are a sucker for a walking baseline in any ad, I confess, voting for the Paul Ryan Kill Medicare budget is so politically potent. What you just saw there is that vote being wielded as a cudgel against people who didn't even necessarily vote for it themselves, but who might be sort of like the people who did vote for it. This Kill Medicare vote that the Republicans took this spring, this is what's known in politics as a humdinger. Democrats think those votes in the spring of this year are still going to be driving votes in November of next year. That is how Democrats feel about the Republicans' Paul Ryan Kill Medicare budget. But the Republican leadership in Congress, looking at that same data, apparently looks at that Kill Medicare vote from this spring and thinks, we did not go far enough. The Paul Ryan Kill Medicare budget would have capped spending at below 20% of GDP. To get to cuts that dramatic, Republicans did something as dramatic as killing Medicare and a lot more besides. Now, Republicans are saying they won't vote to raise the debt ceiling unless spending is capped at even less than that 20%. They now want to cap spending at 18% of GDP. In real dollars, that's about $300 billion smaller than the Paul Ryan Kill Medicare budget. So Republicans had a chance to vote on a budget that made cuts like that back in April. Back in April, they considered an 18% spending cap. And even Republicans, considering their own proposal to do that earlier this year, even Republicans thought it was too radical. More Republicans voted against that than voted for it. But now they are insisting that they must vote on that thing again. They want to do it now. They want to act out that little pageant of symbolic voting before they will agree to take a vote on the debt ceiling. That's where the fight is right now on whether or not we are going to default on our debt. Republicans in Congress insisting on voting on something that's more draconian than their Kill Medicare budget, something so draconian they themselves already voted it down earlier this year. If by some miracle that idea ever passes, which it won't, President Obama said today he would go ahead and veto it. On Friday, the Progressive Change Campaign Committee brought signatures from about 200,000 Obama donors, volunteers, and supporters to President Obama's campaign headquarters in Chicago. These are not just 200,000 random Americans. These are 200,000 people who say they knocked on doors and walked precincts and raised money and gave money and helped the last time that Barack Obama ran for president in 2008. They brought with them on Friday a warning, a message to the president to not follow the Republicans down the rabbit hole on these budget fights.
What this is about letting the president know that how desperately we want to support his campaign, how much we want to be volunteering and being right in the foxhole with him again, but we simply cannot if he supports cuts to Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security benefits.
I'm 59 years old, and my heart breaks easily now. And when I heard he was willing to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, he signaled to me that my future is bleak.
I cannot put my time and money towards that campaign if those programs are cut. Go ahead, your name, please.
No, I won't. Not if he cuts Medicare and Social Security. I'm 61. I'm looking at retirement in a few years. If this is just a giveaway on the table like everything else has been, he has lost my support completely.
As we run out of time on the issue of raising the debt ceiling, Republicans in Congress are telling the president that he has a choice for the economy. Forgive the war metaphor here, but essentially what they are saying is either they can blow up the economy with a cruise missile, or they can blow up the economy with a dirty bomb. Either it'll take a direct hit because we'll default on our debt and that will incinerate 10% of GDP immediately in the first month of default, and we will never ever get that back. And we will definitely be back in recession and likely into a depression. Sounds fun. Or the dirty bomb, the proposal they themselves rejected as too insane for even their own votes just months ago. Their proposal to cut spending hundreds of billions of dollars below even their Kill Medicare budget. Their Kill Medicare budget, which horrified even Jack Kemp's old blood red district in upstate New York enough to turn that blood red district blue. The president's own campaign volunteers now telling him to reject the framing that Republicans have insisted on, not take the Republican bait to go after Social Security and Medicare. And in the midst of all of this, in the midst of what's going on the right and what is going on the left, yesterday in Washington on a